Welcome, gods and goddesses, creators, to All Things Spirituality with yours truly, Maria Palomino, a sacred sanctuary that speaks the unspeakable and lets you in on the secrets of spiritual awakening. Introducing self-discovery, soul awakening tools that helps you remember your soul's true purpose to start manifesting a conscious reality. Every soul is unique, meaning no spiritual path is the same. Feel every conversation and let your mind, body, and soul guide you to what is unique to only you. It is the soul's resonance of remembrance. Now, take a deep breath, drop into your heart, and let us begin, beautiful souls creators. Welcome, gods and goddesses, to All Things Spirituality podcast with your host, Maria Palomino. Today, we have the pleasure of having Loyola, who is a Tantric wisdom teachings teacher, and her background is incredibly impressive. Let me read it to you. Loyola Antara is a best-selling author and has been an active tantric wisdom teacher and spiritual guide for the past 30 years. Her work has taken her all over the world, and she has transformed thousands of people's lives. Loyola created and developed the Kundalini dance practice, which is based on ancient tantric principles, and has trained over 200 facilitators who shares the work all over the world. She has a vast body of work, which she shares online through her Tantric Rose Mystery School, where she offers an online priestess training and over 14 online programs in Kundalini dance, sexual healing, sacred union, Tantric shamanic breathwork, Egyptian alchemy, and archetypal goddess immersions. Loyola has the gift to help activate the Shakti in both men and women, so that they can experience more radical aliveness and ecstatic life force flowing through their body. She offers practical embodied practices to use in the everyday life, both to heighten your intimate life and live in higher states of consciousness and connection with your soul. She's based out of Australia, and we have the pleasure to have her here today. Thank you, Loyola, so much for being here with us today. I appreciate it. You're such a goddess. And I'm so thankful to have you now as one of my teachers and have joined 2 programs of yours now. And they've been very, very powerful, especially the last one we just did at the Lionsgate portal. Literally broke me down. Thank you. Thank you. What I like doing with every episode before we begin is to do like a little 2-minute tune in. Would you like to guide it? Or would you like me to guide it? It's up to you.
Oh, I'd love to guide it.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what you do. Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good with you. I love that.
Yes, I like
So I've got my little crystal bowl here as well, always on hand. Yeah, so I'll just invite you to close down your eyes, relax your jaw, and sink down from your head down into your body, into your heart, and sink down into your pelvic bowl. Bring your awareness to that space in between your hip bones, your beautiful sacred womb space, your hara, pelvic bowl. And allow your breath to be long and slow now as you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And allow yourself to begin to root down, deep down into the core of Mother Gaia, Sophia. Imagining that you have like a taproot going down from your root chakra gates, your perineum, relaxing and dropping down, surrendering to gravitational pull, the magnetic pull of the earth. We do this because there's so much vast, vital life force energy at the core of the earth. I'm going to drink that vital energy in as we pray and tend and ask Divine Mother to fill us with her life force, with her vitality, so we can partner with her in life and support, asking her for her support now to live our greatest and best life, live the life that is the destiny of our soul. Drink that energy in and just imagining you have a little flame in the center of your pelvic bowl. That's your Shakti flame, that's your inner Kundalini, your life force, your evolutionary current of life. This is how the Mother can support you in your transformational journey, by activating this flame. Drinking that energy up. We'll just take 3 little sniffs, little sips, little sniffs, little short, sharp sniffs, like you're drinking and gathering energy from the earth as you feel your interconnection with all of the earth and this beautiful planet. And now take a breath up into your heart, right there at your thymus gland, your heart flame. This is the seat of your immune system. And the consciousness here connects you with the unified field of all of life. It's a center where you remember your unity. It's a center where you remember your oneness. It's a center where you remember that you are love at the core of it all. I'm going to take 3 little breaths up into the heart flame. Expanding a beautiful ball of love. Letting it fill you. Letting it expand into your auric field. Feel how we're all linking now through the heart. And I link to you, Maria, and you link to me. And may this conversation serve all of those who are listening on their evolutionary journey to embody their soul and live the true life aligned with their soul's destiny.
Thank you so much, Loyola. That was incredible. Just feel my Shakti. And then I saw you as a goddess, but working with us from being up above in the clouds, being moved through the wind. That was beautiful.
Oh, beautiful vision.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. And it's so profound, and it's a crystal bowl too. And it just takes you, and you have that soothing voice that it just carries away. Thank you. So let's get right into it. It's becoming more and more of a popular topic now. People talking about Tantra, what it is, more people being trained. You're training more people, but there's various different schools of Tantra as well, different lineages. So let's begin and dive in with what is Tantric, what is Tantra, what's the difference, and then go into the different lineages and what is the practice that you offer, and then going more into the womb sacred space and the sacred space for men, and how the divine union comes in. So we'll start from the beginning and then dive in. Perfect.
Yeah, well, I mean, what is Tantra is a big question, and I can't really say, what is Tantra. I can speak to what my version of Tantra is. and I'm very much aligned to, I know that Tantra is being used, just to describe a conscious kind of exploration of sexuality, a conscious exploration of masculine and feminine relating. And although this is included in any tantric exploration, I'm more working with the ancient tantric principles of the focusing first on what we would call white tantra, which is the connection of the inner marriage of God and goddess within our own bodies. And when I say goddess, I mean the upwelling, the uprising current, the divine feminine energy that we can receive from the earth, from Gaia Sophia, from our beautiful planet, and from her very womb herself. My path is unique, and I think everybody's path is unique, but about 33 years ago, I was I fell in love with a soulmate, and I believe that, and the first time we made love, I experienced my sexual energy moving up through my crown chakra and activating. This was the first time we made love, and it was like a week-long courtship, and then we made love. We were together. We fell in love, and we got married for 7 years. It was we were married for 7 years, and then we moved on. But that particular relationship was my first exploration. I had no idea what Tantra was, and I had no idea. I had not even read any books on it. But I remember just thinking, wow, that must be what a chakra is. And then I started to look into it and explore. And for me, it's always been a very natural, like with that particular soulmate relationship, it was like we remembered we'd been ancient beloveds in past lives. And so when we made love, it's like we brought online that memory of sacred lovemaking that is harnessing the power of sexuality, which is still very primal and orgasmic and pleasurable, deep pleasure and deep eros. But it's a way of being in the body, harnessing that power in the body, and then lifting it up through the chakras and lifting it up through the crown and uniting with God and opening up what I call opening up the stargates,
soul gate,
just opening up this portal to the stars, this portal to more. And what can happen when you make love like that is you become a beacon of light for the planet. You become those kinds of unions. And I'm in another beloved union now with my fiance, and this will be my second. This will be my second marriage. But we're also have many partners, but this will be my second partner where I felt, okay, this is a lifelong soulmate. And that in itself, that commitment, that containment, just kind of opens me right up. But what happened for me with my initial explorations of Tantra was just like, I can really, I got this communion from the earth, and I got a message that I was to connect people to the core of the earth, and that the earth was ascending. She was raising her vibration to a fifth dimensional frequency, and that it was a time of purification on the planet, and that I was to begin to bring people through this process of purifying their chakras through this breath work and breathing upwards and breathing that energy up and then bringing that energy down. And I wouldn't have even called that Tantra. It was just like I was tapping into a universal transformational pattern for spiritual awakening, which was to marry the polarities within us and to ecstatically explode this ecstatic energy in the body and start to shift the cellular patterns and rewire and reprogram the human system. So, this was all beginning. So because I was, married and I was in a monogamous committed relationship, it wasn't, I knew that I had to share what I had to share with, with many people, but it wasn't, it wasn't going to be through sex or even initiating people sexually. So my guidance was to bring people into opening up their tantric energy pathways, this what we're calling, this ability to open up to the flow of the earth, which we did in that meditation, and that ability to open up to the cosmic downflow and to marry those in the body and in the chakras and experience, the incredible transformation that's available to the individual when we do that. So that was how it all began. So Kundalini dance was my first body of work, and I taught it and still teach it. It's a basic foundation of everything I teach. But I started when I was 26, I'm 56. So it's been 30 years of,
You're a
going
master.
through a lot of dance. And I understood, like, this is inner alchemy. This is tantric alchemy. But, it's not that but I always didn't really quite gel with what other people were. I'd go to these tantric workshops and I was just like, that's
Very
not
different.
tantra. That's not tantra. And these men are just, who they think they are. They don't even know how to move their energy properly. And I was, I was pretty confused myself, with the Neo-Tantra movement. And even though I claim it now that I'm a tantric wisdom teacher, because I think that I work more with those ancient tantric principles that you don't even need to be making love to be embodying those principles. And that's the principle of the marriage of Shiva and Shakti within you.
Finding it within us, yes.
Yes, and what, that's the practices that we teach and that we've mastered, is this, this ability to raise and cultivate and self-generate Shakti, the divine feminine in yourself, whether you're a man or you're a woman, and experience that ecstatic life force and feel that vitality and allow that energy to purify you and to cleanse you and to, release the blockages from your chakras and the emotions. So it's a very deep process of unraveling a lot of suppression and ancestral trauma, as well as ancient past life memories. So it's, I think it's the most authentic, tried and true
And I love it.
spiritual
That's the whole point
practice.
of the podcast, is to introduce all the different paths, all the different, there's so many different tools that are out there, and for everyone to choose like what is right with them, what resonates with them, what lineage they're being called on, to choose one or two and see what opens up for them. And for you, even for you, it's when you're saying that you created
Yeah.
all these different practices, did you have a teacher, or was it something that this is something more that your
Yeah.
body remember, you were channeling, or is this something that progress as far, because I know you channel now light
Progresses.
language. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the practices, yeah, I do. But the practices came through teaching and taking so many groups through for so many years, was starting with the dance workshops and getting people to activate through the chakras. I chose the chakras as a journey map and I stuck with it and taught chakra series year after year after year after year for 10 years. Then I started teaching teachers and doing 16-day, 30-day workshops.
Wow.
And so the work evolved through, this movement that was creating. And I've trained over 200 teachers. So that was a big part of how the work developed. But I had teachers. Yes, I've had teachers. But it was interesting for me because I was 23 and I was praying, what is my path? What is my path? Because I could, I was going towards different spiritual paths, but I knew that, the message that I got initially was dance for self-healing. That is your path. That was a very clear inner guidance I got when I was in a float tank. And dance for self-healing, that is your path. And so when I went to look for mentors in that, there weren't many, but I had my first mentor in the dance. So I was looking for people who work with dance and who work with energy, not necessarily people who were working with Tantra. I was looking for mentors who worked with energy so I could understand,
Energy through
because I
dance
knew,
and movement. Yeah.
yeah. And my first teacher was a man called Konstantin Pavlidis, and we were living in Amsterdam at the time, and he was an Australian ballet dancer, professional ballet dancer. But he saw ballet as a movement of sacred geometry in the body. And we used to work together 3 days a week for a couple of years. And we'd go into the park and we'd connect with nature and the trees and the energy. And it was sort of like, kind of like a Tai Chi sort of thing, but it was more working with the energy. And then he took me to his teacher, and her name is Elizabeth St. John, and she lived in London, and she was like my healing teacher. And she also worked with dance and energy. And she's the one who introduced me to the map of the chakras as being a great map. So by working with the map of the chakras, that's when, it definitely got activated as a tantric practice. And then I started to recognize how many people had a lot of issues with opening up to the divine feminine.
Yes.
And into how, as a culture, just how blocked we all were, in that energy. So then I started to specifically work with sexual healing, and developed some programs. About the last 10 years, I've been offering programs in sexual healing and healing the sexual gates, and really getting this whole pelvic region, particularly for women, clear so that they can feel reconnected to that ecstatic Shakti power in their womb. And I love doing that for men too. And, clearing the ovaries, clearing the womb, clearing the sexual organs of past imprints and trauma. And, I feel very strongly that beloved reunion, sacred union is the men and the women particularly
Correct.
coming together
Divine union.
again, trusting each other again. Divine union is part of what will bring the world back to balance.
Yeah.
Couples co-creating again. And so I also develop programs to support particularly women to heal their wounded heart, their armor, so that they can more deeply start to open up to their beloved and experience a more balanced,
Correct.
relationship.
And it's so important. You just mentioned that the way that we're going to help this world really become more 5D, become more higher conscious, is when we start having relationships where both the male and the woman are both in their divine union, and then they come together and they are going, bringing in a human being, but with that consciousness that they're bringing a being of light. It's not that they're going in just for pleasure and animalistic desire, but because they're bringing in that new life, that new creation, that new consciousness. When they're going in with that intention, that's when the new souls start coming in, and you start attracting those new souls that are going to come in, and they're going to be more loving, more benevolent, more Lemurian-like energy. And it's so key. But all the chakras have to be aligned. And that's why it's so important, because like you said, it's important to work with mother, because everything starts coming in through the root chakra. And you have to work with your root, the base of feeling sustainable and comfortable, the unite and survival. And then you work with your reproductive system. And that's where all the emotions are. Right. And it takes a while. You can be working there for your whole life. Because something new comes up, even for you. You've been over 30 years. And would you say that there's always something to work around your second chakra within your womb and productivity?
Yeah. I mean, I'm in menopause now, and so I'm in a beloved union that's not about reproduction, but it is about a joint creativity and our lovemaking, practice where, he's in his divine inner union, where he's balanced in his masculine and feminine. He's connecting to God, he's connecting to Goddess.
Yeah.
And I'm in my divine feminine and divine masculine. And I'm whole. It's like now we can come together as two wholes and unite and create so much, light to offer the world. And also we can, co-create with that energy, create, we're creating beautiful gardens and a paradise and a sanctuary right now. It's like it'll go on, and we'll create more. But yeah, I think that these new unions are what are helping to anchor in the new earth frequencies. Yeah, the fifth dimensional frequencies for sure.
Yeah.
So that's a big passion for me. And my next course in October will be preparing, divine union, preparing people through divine inner union, preparing people for divine union
within themselves.
Live within themselves, and then also working on their relationship with the polarity and preparing them for that, because there's a lot of wounding, a lot of old wounds in the heart that still need working through. There's a lot of separation between men and women. There's a lot of, and I know that it's not fashionable to talk about men and women at the moment, but it's like that's the core relationship, that's the core polarity that creates unity.
Correct.
And I know that some people feel that whether they're in a same-sex partnership or not, that's also a way that they can balance this more androgyny, masculine, feminine relating. And I'm totally supportive of that.
Very important.
And
yes.
work with people in same-sex relationships too. But I think what we're talking about is beyond gender, and it's a balancing of these polarities of masculine and feminine that are so important. Yeah.
Correct.
But
What
it's
would you
important
say?
to hear
Okay,
that.
sorry.
Or just healing the wounds of love, the ancient betrayal, the abandonment, the separation, these wounds that come up in our deep beloved relationships. Often our hearts are very guarded because they haven't yet fully processed old hurts. And so this is a big part of my current work, is to support people to really heal that heart, because I know for myself, I wouldn't have, had I not been willing to be vulnerable, to feel, to cry, I wouldn't have attracted my new mate in.
So beautiful. I've seen all your pictures and you look so happy. You both look radiant. A question that I have for you, Loyola, is what would be your message for women so they can attract the divine masculine? What do they do when they go out, to nature, or they go out with friends, to be able to start attracting that divine masculine to come into their field?
Beautiful question. I feel that there's so many layers to this. I mean, always, I think the first and foremost relationship that we must cultivate is our relationship to our inner masculine, and to how we are holding our feminine. And when we're able to hold our emotional feminine, when we're able to allow ourselves to feel strong emotions, to witness without judgment, which I feel is very much a divine masculine quality, is to be able to witness without judgment anything that the feminine is feeling. When we're able to be still amongst the chaos of the feminine, when we've got, because a man can only really a man will only treat you fundamentally how you treat yourself.
So
And
true.
that's like
Wow.
if you are kind to yourself and holding of yourself and accepting and loving unconditionally of who you are and meeting yourself in acceptance as you are, you know, a man will mirror that and you attract those men in. I think another piece for me is I experienced the softer that I became. Not that I'm balanced in my masculine, my feminine, but the more that I was allowing myself to be in my vulnerability and to be truly honest with whatever I'm feeling with myself and holding myself, not needing of the man to hold me, but there was not a taking off the mask. You know, I think it's very, very attractive if a woman just is self-accepting of whatever she's going through, and she's had these, little ego deaths. Like
Yeah.
what we explored in the Temple of Anana. Like you said, I've been unraveled. Like
It's
when we
not
come back,
easy.
it's not easy,
You don't
and
even
but
know you're
when you,
putting up a defense sometimes.
that's right. That's right. So that's the key, is letting the guard down. And why do we put the guard down up? The defense that you mentioned. It's because there's pain there that hasn't been felt. So this is what I feel is where we need to do the inner work and feel the feels and meet those places in our hearts where we got the armor or when we have the pain, and do the work, the inner child work, and soften the edges again and come back to finding safety within yourself. And I feel that when a woman has found a safety and an self-awareness of all her inner terrain, then she can definitely meet her man, or be with a man, because we're talking about attracting a man, right? So she can start to meet somebody from a much more authentic place, and she'll meet someone who's able to meet her. And I also think it's really important to be really clear on what your needs are, and
Oh,
let go of the pleasing aspect. Like
correct.
often we think we have to be something to be liked, and
I love
we've
that.
got to please, or we've got to show something. And I just think the more relaxed we are, the more safe we are, the more in our bodies we are, the more true to what we need we are, we'll attract the men that are our match. If we're not putting that out there,
Yeah.
in a way, it's like some men can give you this. Say, for example, you have a need for closeness and contact and more intimacy, and you want to see a man often, and a man who doesn't have that same need, might say, try and tell you that, your needs aren't valid. And if that's the case, then I think you should just, know that that man's not for you. It's a man who can really respect and honor your needs. If you have a need for more connection, more communication, whatever that is, and a man can meet you there, then that's a man that you'll be able to bond with securely, and who can meet you where you are and
Yeah.
give you what you need. I think that's all,
Yeah.
that's all part of it as well.
What I'm hearing is self-love is key, loving yourself and doing the inner work to really get to know yourself and discover what it is that you can't see, that are pains that are there, or what barriers you're going to be. Like, I come from a Latina family, Latin family, and women are just raised to please the man. And when you are brought up in a society, in a culture like that, you don't even realize that you're doing it because you're trying to please them. It's just natural. It's so programmed. And it's not till you really start putting yourself first that you start seeing that maybe this man, you can go back in relationships and realize, well, they weren't providing me what I really wanted. Because truthfully, I didn't really know what I wanted to begin with, but now I know. But it's discovering yourself, and just for the listeners to understand, I've done one live class with you, and then I've done one of your programs. Is that self-container that you bring, you create this space that is sacred where everyone can feel comfortable and they open up and all the women start learning from each other. Because in a way you say, okay, I can do this on my own. In part, yes, of course you can. But when you come as a collective group, you all first off become divinely guided to come together to work with each other, and they're all mirrors to one another. We all become mirrors. In one session in particular that we had with working with Inanna, there was one woman that spoke and it completely broke me down because we can relate, and a lot of us do, with each session and just sharing.
The collective themes are they're very linked. It's very interesting. We think that we're alone in our thing, in our stories and our wounds, but there's definitely like collective feminine themes. And when you start, the potency of the group field as well just amplifies the healing energy, the capacity to be vulnerable. There's something that happens when we're together, for sure. It's an amplified field, and
it's you holding that space. That's what the facilitator is key, very key. Who's the facilitator and what energy they're bringing in, and you had, I like the rules that you had as well, as far as we're all just listening. That's key. Sometimes I feel like maybe in other groups there's too much not oversharing, but people are trying to solve other people's problems, and it's about listening and feeling. And
not fixing, not fixing, because fundamentally we're not broken. And fundamentally we're just facilitating us to move through the layers to get to the core of the beauty of the source that we are, each and every one of us.
I had a question in regards to, so there's Tantra that's very aligned with the Indian lineage. And for you, which is the one that I relate with, which is why I took your classes, is more Egyptian lineage, the Rose Mystery School. So talk about that lineage and how maybe it's different from the Indian lineage.
I feel that we're kind of reviving the lost path of the way of love, which some would call the Grail lineage or the Rose lineage. And it's a path of sacred, beloved union that we have been remembering. So it's a lot of the books or knowledge of the Rose lineage actually got lost, and it's connected very much to Mary Magdalene and Yeshua but initially we've got this path of sacred union that came in from the stars. His teachings came in from the stars, and they anchored initially into ancient Egypt as the first kind of, experiential culture that was still working with, the cosmic forces. And the original star teachers knew that humanity would awaken through their sexuality. So it was the Rose lineage, and the Egyptian high Tantra, understands this path of inner alchemy. And the key is the energy work and the inner alchemy. And then from there, it kind of went through, with Mary Magdalene, it sort of went into the Middle East. I mean, I suppose it's very much connected to the goddess traditions, because when you look at it, sacred sexuality and sacred union, went back as far as ancient Sumeria, ancient Egypt, where the goddess, like Inanna, was very much a sacred sexual goddess. We go into Hathor, the teachings of sacred sexuality with Hathor and Horus and Isis. Yeah, Isis and Osiris. And so it's like we're piecing together and remembering this ancient lineage. So I off the 9-month priestess training, and it's just, we focus on a goddess archetype a month. So working with Isis, working with Hathor, working with Mary Magdalene, working with Mother Mary. And each particular goddess archetype brings through this ancient transmission. So it's less about sort of studying knowledge, but just working with the energy, and then the body starts to remember. Yeah. And once the Kundalini becomes activated, what happens is a lot of your past life memories come online. So that's what happened to me. Once my Kundalini awoke, like with that first time I made love to the soulmate, that was a Kundalini awakening.
Yes.
And then what started happening was I started to remember ancient Atlantis, ancient Egypt, temple lifetimes as a priestess, as a lover. And it wasn't really through the mind, it was more through my energy system awakening. And I think that's, that's why I'm such a practical teacher. Like, I love talking, and it's great fun to share. And
I love it.
When it comes down to it, we just get into the practice, and the practice is what informs. And then each woman has her own books and novels and chapters of information. And that's, what I'm interested in, is supporting people to get to their own source.
If there's one or two practices a woman can start doing day to day to awaken their Kundalini, to you, would it be meditation? Would it be dance? There's so many different types of meditations. What would you tell them to do?
I would think I would do the activation of the threefold flame. So, we have 3 flames, like one flame in the womb, one flame in the heart, and one flame up in the third eye.
Okay.
And I would, in the pineal gland, the center of the brain. And these are the 3 intuitive centers. So if your pineal, your higher mind center, your heart center, and your womb center are all activated and unified, you will experience this. That particular practice is just a gift that keeps on giving. It's like the more you do it, the more ecstatic you get, the more activated you get, the more you remember. So just 3 little breaths in each one, and with a prayer to God, Goddess, help me to activate my inner flame. And
intention is so powerful. And
then activating the heart, activating up in the mind, and then seeing like an infinity loop that these 3 connect to. So you've got your 3 flames activated and operating as one whole mind consciousness. And this,
I love it.
Illumination of these 3 centers will bring you deep peace and a deeper connection to inner guidance, and a deeper connection to the true wisdom. And I feel that it's such an important time right now, particularly with what's going on globally at the moment, with the current global health crisis and all the political agendas around all of that. It's such an important time to really stay very, very tuned to our primordial intelligence, our primordial intuition. I'd say read less, practice more, and really hone into this deep intuitive knowing. And
Wow.
from there, you can ask, the kinds of questions and get the kinds of answers that you need.
Read less, practice more. Then you have the experience to ask better questions or more expanded questions. Yes.
That's right.
It's in the practice, it's in the work, and sitting down and doing it. And sometimes we get stuck trying to go from event to event to event to event, but or we're just listening or watching videos like, okay, now it's your turn to sit down, close your eyes, breathe consciously and intention. That's powerful. That is so powerful. You just share there. It's time to do. Read less. I mean, read less and start doing.
Yeah. It's interesting because, it's so interesting. It's like moving from 3D head-centered reality. And as soon as you come into the vertical alignment, that's the key. And it's sometimes hard to slip from horizontal to vertical. Not that it's hard, it's easy. It's just one breath, one intention, and you're in the vertical flow. And the vertical flow is what will connect you to the universal cosmic intelligence.
Yeah.
You don't get it through here, through your mind, through thinking. You get it through remaining connected. And this is the work is that. It's just what practices connect you to the divine and finding, what they are. So
wow.
I bless you all. And
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you,
I would very much, if you feel called and you're resonating with what I'm sharing, anybody out there is welcome to come and to
and
join,
we're putting down all your
one of my
links,
programs.
your website, your handholders for Instagram and so forth, so people can follow you and then they can ask you any questions that you have. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having us today and for your time and for the beautiful, wow, that was an amazing tuning, the best we've had so far. We appreciate it so much. Thank you, Loyola.
Oh, good, darling. Bless you, Maria.
Bless you. Take care.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, darling, and love to everyone who's watching. I'd love to get to know you deeper. Okay.
You're welcome. Bye. Thank you, beautiful souls, for listening. Visit my website and subscribe to our monthly newsletter to be updated on the latest healing programs we have available, such as self-love, inner child healing, energy healing sessions, and one-on-one coaching. Plus, starting March 2022, I will be a CAP certified facilitator. That is CAP for Kundalini activation process, and we'll be having activating virtual sessions as well as retreats around the world. So don't miss out and be the first to find out to secure your spot, since it will fill out quickly. Don't forget to like and subscribe to receive your latest dose of heart-opening medicine. Light and love.